All right, good afternoon. I'll call the meeting to order. I'll begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Neil Harden. I'm chairing today's panel. With me is Ron Merritt to my left and Tracy Anderson to my far left. The assessor today is Jonathan Spacek, and the recording secretary is Kelsey Harrison. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements of the applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions the applicant may have, and the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. So the first property on today's agenda is 1595 Aaron Street. Can you do the swearing in? You're for Aaron Street, are you?
Yes.
Yeah. Sit there.
You swear, could you please state your name?
Jonathan Spacek.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
Thank you. And would you like to swear in or affirm? Could you please state your name? And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Okay. Now we have a preliminary matter on this. Is a request for non-cooperation. Are you aware what a request for non-cooperation involves?
Not fully. I don't know nothing about it. The only thing I know that my property tax was $18,000 and we were on a tip program, and all of a sudden the property tax went to $44,000 a year, and I'm unable to pay, and I couldn't even pay that property tax.
Okay, so if we grant the request for non-cooperation, the first thing that happens is that you have to present your evidence first at this hearing. And the second thing is that if we were to grant, if we grant the non-cooperation, I should say, and also if we grant the non-cooperation, any reduction in assessed value will only take effect 1 year in the second year of the assessment cycle. So there'd be a penalty of 1 year on the reduction.
Sir, I don't know how these things work. I only got a phone call today. Sorry, didn't get your name?
Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan this morning. That's why I rushed here. I didn't even know that it was today was the hearing. We are just working people. We don't know much about these things. I'm sorry. Only we know when we get the bill and we have to pay the bill, and we worry about paying the bill. From $18,000 it went to $44,000. It was like, what I'm going to do?
Yep.
I don't have resources to pay.
Okay, we will ask Mr. Spacek then to present his evidence on the non-cooperation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for this property, the initial issue is that we've never received a mailer from it. So when it was appealed, I'm asking, again, I'm asking for non-cooperation. If you look at my page, just going to turn to it here. We can turn it to page 10. For the 2017 mailer, we sent it on 2018. I've included the proof of mail delivery for the actual second income and expense mailer we sent out. So we initially send one out in May. If we do not receive that one back, we send a one that with tracking in June. So it's the certified mailer. And you can see at the top the tracking report, it ends with 619CA. We're just showing that as of June 7th, 2018, it was signed for by M. Anderson, and at the bottom I've included the actual envelope that it was sent in, and you can see it was sent to Aaron Street Building Corporation at the bottom, 1595 Aaron, and again, we never received it back, and I've just included the mailer at page 11 going forward, and again, when we don't receive a mailer, it's required to ask for non-cooperation according to the Act, and that is my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any questions of the assessor on the...
No, sir, I don't know nothing about it, so, but...
Okay, Tracy, do you have any questions of the assessor?
I do not.
Ron?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right, now on this issue of the letter, do you have any evidence to present on the...
I have nothing on me, sir. Only I can tell that I purchased property for $600,000, and almost all my property is $1.9 million.
Okay.
I don't know. Should I call myself lucky or not?
Do you, have you, if you look at page 10, have you seen this letter?
If I would have seen it, I must have do something about it. I came to the assessment office with my when I got the bill of my property tax, and I tried talking to some people over there, and I think someone there, and he said, yeah, it's a mistake. Even recently, I think.
Okay, we're not talking about the value, though. Just whether you received the request for information from.
Not to my knowledge, sir. Somebody Anderson accept this letter. There's no Anderson work for me or work with me, so I don't know.
Sorry, I did not hear that. Were you asking who M. Anderson was?
I was going to, yeah.
Yeah, that was my question, actually.
Do you know who M. Anderson is?
No, sir. Nobody with me. Person with M. Anderson.
No, M. Anderson works for you at 1595 Aaron Street?
No, ma'am. It's just a limousine company. We just use that space for car wash and for the parking and some office area. We tried to fill that place with a different tenant, a Bosch Auto, but somehow city did not grant him occupancy permit. They said it's a single tenant only. We cannot have a multi-tenant building. Even I tried to make some adjustment with some fire exit corridors, anything. I didn't get any cooperation from the city, and then my tenant left. So it's just a limousine company, and we hardly make our living. I have employees, I'll say 25 part-time and full-time drivers. Just the parking space we need. And paying $44,000 property tax, I think rather, I did put my building on sale. I'm trying to sell my building, whatever I can get, go find a smaller place and make my living. Just make.
We're not talking about the value of the business right now.
Yeah.
We're just talking.
Sorry, I don't even know where to start and
We're trying
what
to
to tell.
understand who M. Anderson is, who received this document, and.
No, we don't have any Anderson.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we will take a break then and then consider the request for non-cooperation. So I think it would be easier if we stepped out of the room.
Yeah, let's do that.
That's what my shoes. I did. Yeah. Well, yeah. Sure. I just send them there.
Well, now that it's my responsibility.
Yeah.
Now, we've considered the evidence presented and we're going to grant some non-cooperation. So that will result in a 1-year deferment of any reductions the board may order. Well, in practical terms, I think the city is making a recommendation on this property, so maybe we'll just proceed with that.
Do the value, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so to follow along here, the 2020 value was originally $1,916,000. This is an old vehicle service garage built in 1960. It has a gross floor area of 13,428 with a leasable area of 13,054. There was an addition put on this property. The exact year I did not write down, but it was in I'm sure the appellant will tell you the exact year, but you can see on my page 2 the breakdown. I've done an aerial photo and street view, so you can see the street view at the bottom on the right side of the vehicle service garage. That's the older original VSG, as built in 1960, and it has bays on the front, it has bays on the back. It's a pretty classic vehicle service garage. And then on the left-hand side, you have a storage warehouse. That was the addition. So from that is what's being valued today, and from page 3, I've included some more aerial views. You can see exactly the property. It's currently being used as for a limousine company, cleaning limos inside, parking, such as that from my understanding. I'm sure the accountant can go with that, but I've included my recommendation right on the back page. So if you turn to the back page, it was originally done on the income approach. It still is, but I've actually reduced the rent. So we have 9,880 square feet, which is the vehicle service garage, at $8.50, and I've put the 3,176 square feet, which is second story and like storage mezz space. That's just, I put it as a $5 storage rent. We had a field assistant or somebody that works with me actually walk through the building with the appellant and brought some pictures. I think they came too late for me to add to the briefs, but again, very old VSG, second story, even the mezz space is like, 2x4s, unfinished framing, just used for storage. Very old finish, so I thought $8.50 for the VSG seemed fair, $5 for the actual mezz space. I use standard parameters up until the cap rate. So I use 4% vacancy, which is standard for BSG, 2% expenses, 450 shortfall, and I up the cap from what I consider average to below average. So I brought it up to 7.85 to 7.15, and that's how I get that total value of now $1,167,000. So that is my recommendation today.
Okay, and how do you feel about the recommendation to reduce from $1,916,000 to $1,167,000?
I'd like to say a few things. The second story, when city inspector went there last year and they said this is non-occupied area, it's not rentable or nothing. That's around, I think, 3,000 square feet upstairs. So if it's a non-occupied area, they're considering how can we rent that one? So city should consider that. And the rental value for 99,860. They didn't even allow us to bring any tenant there. They just simply said it's a single tenant building, and only one tenant can stay in the building. So I don't even know how can we accomplish $99,860 rent when they're not even allowing me to bring a second tenant in the building. There's only one tenant, which is London Limos, and that is London Limos paying 5,000 some change every month. So my rental income is less than $60,000. That's all I have.
Okay. All right. Is there anything you wish to add then?
Not really. That's everything. I just, for my presentation, page 6, rent comparables, just for the VSG portion, again, put 5 together that were kind of standalone VSGs, tried to find, similar type of VSG, which I'll admit is tough because this is off of a main strip. It needs to have a lower rent, which I tried to represent, but 1870 King Android is $17,000 square foot large VSG, older style, built 1977, $8.15. 75 static Kona is comparable 5. It's like off the, it's off of Watt Street. In like the Elmwood area, is getting $10 for 2,750 square feet. So just trying to represent the quality of it, and I appreciate what the appellant is saying for the second floor med space. It's a building with some issues, and it's what is the actual value of that second square foot space. I put $5 storage. It's a difficult building for something like that. So other than that, that is my presentation.
Okay, do you have anything you wish to add?
Only I want to say that every time I try to bring a tenant and it's denied because it's a single tenant, I don't even know what to do with the building, except that I put it on sale and try to get out of that building. And building going to come in next year tax sale because I cannot pay this much tax. So you guys have to really think. Somebody trying to make this living. I have 25 drivers on the side, big fleet. I need a parking spot. I have to find a different place because I cannot pay tax. That building is going to come in tax sale anyway.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the hearing for this property. And we will get back to you in due course, usually about 2 weeks ago? Might be a little longer for the holiday break.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we come to 1440 Pleasant Road.
19 and 20, yeah.
19 and 20. So we will start with the 2019 year.
Sid Story. Sorry. Sid Story.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do. Unless it goes.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a request. I was just wondering if you could begin with 2020 as our evidence that we'll be presenting is for both years, and the evidence that we presented in our briefs are attached to the 2020 brief.
I have no problem with that. Do you have any problem with that?
Like him referring as 2020 evidence?
Yeah.
Sure.
So we'll start with 2020, so you can proceed.
But I'll do the 2020 roll to start, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. We're looking at roll number 0400-726-1550. This is 1440 Plessis Road. Again, we're looking at 19 and 20 today. This is a brand new built gas station and car wash that was built in 2019. Excuse me. So our 2019 assessed value is $1,805,000. We have a main kiosk built and a car wash. Total gross floor area is 3,215 square feet between the two, and a leasable area of 3,315. If you look at page 2, you can actually see the plot of land it was built on. That's the most recent aerial photo I can have. But this whole area along Plessis, just north of Regent, is being redeveloped. This plot you're looking at the top housed the gas station, pumps, canopy, and car wash. You can see at the bottom of page 2 and page 3 as well. So you can see the 3 gas stations as they are there. Page 4, no request for information yet, as it was just built. So again, will be at the next assessment. There will be a mailer sent out that can be filled out for the actual income here. So gas stations, to start out, the way we value them is we use the income approach, and it's also got some modified, it's like, we'll call it an income with a modified cost approach. So we actually do the income approach for the kiosk and the car wash, and then we add the cost of the pumps, their depreciated value of the pumps and canopy. So you'll see later I have attached the detached structures that make up the bottom of the additional building value. That's what the additional building value stands for under the income stream, but I will get to that. So in 2019, we have a 2,271 square foot gas kiosk. So this is where you go in and pay the whole kiosk portion, the convenience store paying, that portion. We have it at $35 a square foot. And then we're using our standard kiosk or store kiosk.
We're working with the 2020 brief first?
I was just going to use evidence, so it doesn't matter which one we go through. I just wanted to start with 19. Does it matter? They're very similar in every way.
Except for what the rates are different.
The rates are quite different.
Well, $5, right? Or what is it, $35 and then 30?
That's $5 a square foot.
How much?
$5 a square foot.
What do you mean, right? $35 for the kiosk? And then $35.48.
Well, the car wash rate is much different from...
Yeah, car wash rate I can speak to as I get there, but I'm fine with what you've done for the kiosk for the car wash rate. Does it matter?
Okay,
Just
cool.
yeah.
So, okay, are you doing in 2019?
I'm going to continue on 19 if that's all right, and then we can just, anything that's glaring we can go over in 20, but I think once I'm done you'll see it's going to be the same going through.
Okay.
Again, if you note anything major different you want to talk about, we can talk about it. Right? And you can talk about it in 20 as well once you get there. But, all right, so we have standard parameters for the actual car wash. Sorry, the actual kiosk portion. We use the income approach for that. I've gotten to the total leasable area, potential rent. We get the vacancy loss. We have 2%, 7% expenses in 2019. We made the change in 2020 to 2%. We use the shortfall of $6 a square foot and an overall capitalization rate of 6.5%. So that's a capitalized value of the actual kiosk, $1.1 million, $1,110,000, and then that additional value, $548,000. Is that additional pump, depreciated cost of the pumps and the tank and the canopy that I spoke about, and then the estimated value is both of those added together. And then if you turn on page 6, we have a separate income stream for car washes. So this represents the smaller car wash at the side, the 1,000 square feet of that car wash you drive through. We have it at $8.60. Again, so the slight issue here is I looked through the appellant's evidence that was provided to me, and there originally was an issue with rent, so I wasn't going to get too into it, but the big issue was the car wash rent, right? Or do you have an issue with the kiosk rent as well?
Oh.
Okay, so that's changed from the evidence I got. So, anyways, the car wash, so could I see a copy of your income workup now? So I know what to speak about?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
For both years or for...
Sure, just, I was originally okay with the car wash rent they used in 19, so that's where now it's different. So that's where I come up with a bit of an issue.
So what I'll do is I'll provide you with the new workup for 2020 Sorry, I had it. That was 220, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. So my original comment getting to the gas car wash was just that in 2019 we have a car wash rate of $8.60. The appellant is using $6, and the way our model worked from the 18 cycle to the 20 cycle is our car wash rents actually dropped between 18 and 20. So this cycle, that 860. When comparing the two and looking at the two car wash rents we have, I'm actually okay with the $6 car wash rent they're using in 2019, so no argument there. You can just put a little check mark or however you need there for that 1,044 square feet at $6. So I agree with that 6,263 potential rent if you're looking at.
Excuse me, did you say for both years you're okay with that rate?
And then you're going to, you went slightly higher in 20, let me see. Or you just stayed at $6.
Yep. Okay,
well, for simplicity, let me just double check. I don't remember.
70.
We're at 6. Sorry. There we go. So 670. For simplicity, the $6 rent for this one I'm fine with. So just instead of going to the 670 and 20 that were our model generated. So keep the $6 for those two for simplicity. It's not unreasonable.
So what value then do you get?
I'd have to work it back out, but I can do that after. Just
Because see, Mr. Story did not separate the two income streams.
yeah. I can write that. We can do that after if you want. I can punch that out quick. Would you like me to continue?
Yeah.
Okay. So, again, so for just quickly now that we've gone over the rents for the two, I wasn't planning on getting the rents for the kiosk. The original workup by the appellant had the same rents. Now they've dropped by $10 to $25. So for the kiosk, just quickly, I've actually, if you turn to page 7.
Again, 2019, right?
2019, yes. Yeah, it's the same for both. Same gas station comparables. So page 7 of my brief, everybody should be looking at the 2020 assessment gas station car wash pad site comparables. So this is how we put together comparables for gas stations and how we determine our model rent for the smaller kiosks and the gas stations. So each comparable is a gas station. It shows the property type class, the third column going down, is whether it's just a gas station or it's a gas station with a car wash. And then you see the tenant, which type of gas station it is. The next one is the annual pad site rent. So the way it works with gas stations, as opposed to a regular commercial building we usually bring in here, is they always pay for the land. So the owner has the land, they rent the land, and then the gas station comes in, signs a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year lease, whatever it may be, builds the gas station, does it all, and then operates it for that time. So the leases we have are actually pad site leases. So what we do is we turn the pad site leases to represent that square footage. What are they paying per square foot of kiosk and car wash? So what the original workup was, as you can see on this page, is that the 3 gas stations that have car washes, we've used a 1050 rate, which during the 2018 cycle was a common car wash rental rate that was agreed on between main appellant and us. So we use that 1050. This time we're using $6 for this thing, but just for argumentative sake and for showing our works, this is how we determine the remainder of the net lease for the kiosk, because we're splitting that pad lease between the gas station and the kiosk when there's 2, the gas station and the car wash. We're giving it that 1050 value based on the square footage, and we're taking the rest as the actual net lease for the kiosk, for the actual gas bar. But that's only for 3 of them. You'll see the rest of these comparables, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 13, they don't have a car wash. So what we did is we take those pad leases and we split it up between the square footage of the gas bar, right? So that's where you get the actual net rent of the gas bar in our eyes, or at least to give it to be consistent across all of them, what are net leases in places. So now you can see the main difference between the gas bars is you have the smaller ones that are just the very small domo style. So those are going to be the smaller square footages, right? You're looking at comp 2, 3, and 4 are 500 to 100 square feet, and those are going to get you very high net rent, which is on the second column from the right. If you're going there, you can see that range from 90, 180, 160, right? Very high for those smaller ones. And then a gas station that we're looking at today, like a Shell with a bigger, you walk in, you have convenience store, drinks, bathrooms, we have the best comparable for this one in my eyes is comparable number 12. So 1376 Region is on Region. It's a gas station and car wash built in 2009, so it's a little more recent, like our newer one built in 2019. They have a pad site rent of $114,000, and that works out to net lease of $42 a square foot and 92 cents for the kiosk. And that was signed in 2009 for a 20-year lease, and then that's if you're assigning $10.50 to the car wash. So if we actually put $6 on the car wash, it would actually be a higher net rent for the kiosk itself. But if you look up again, so we have finding some larger. So we have a newer gas bar built on, so our comparable one is 690 Sterling Lion, right? It's a newer shell, built 2013 with a 15-year lease, and they're the similar size of kiosk and car wash, and they have a pad rent of $105,000 a year. They're actually paying, if you work it out, about $40.25 a square foot for the kiosk, and then they're paying approximately, if you use that $10.50 for the car wash per square foot. So again, we're at a net rent of around $35 for 19, and just above $35 for 20. I just want to make sure I'm not missing another one I want to point out here. Those are the two larger size ones, and then you're getting the rest are much smaller. But I just want to point out comparable 13 and 14 at the bottom are our actual two net rents for car washes. So there's actually, from what we could find, only two actual net leases for car washes. Again, these are the more of the style where you go in and you wash them yourself, but there's one on Pembina, one on McPhillips, both older built, 8867, but they range from $7.72 to $14.51. Those are the two leases in place for car wash. So again, that's just comparing it to our $6 we're actually using for rent. And that is just a quick overview of the kind of our comparables for those. And then I've included with every one, it should be with the 2019. It's just a printout if you did want to look. I've included all the mailers for every gas station and the pad leases that are in place, and the mailers for the car wash, just to show the leases if you wanted to see anything specific. And then the last part to cover, I believe, or not the last part, but page 8, just to see how we do our detached structures. So you can see these are the pumps. This is just a printout from the cost report. So you can see which one on the right-hand side are actually added for income. So the notes show the income added for, we have 6 out of the 8, but again, we're taking for the underground tanks and the pumps and the shelter are added for income. They're brand new, so they're actually pretty much the whole replacement cost minus a very small amount of depreciation because it's 1 year, and then every year that kind of gets lower. The only difference here in our appeal today is 2018 we used slightly different pump descriptions. They were updated from 18 to 20, so you're going to notice in 18 the pump costs and the value actually go up, but I believe there's no argument on the pump and the cost of those. Okay, so they were updated to represent the newer pumps that are actually being used with, let's say an old gas pump only had maybe 2 options for gas. The new ones have 3 plus diesel on each side, so we upgraded the cost, which is going to increase that cost of an actual, cost of actually installing that and if it were to be sold. And then page 10 is our capitalization rate sheet. Again, the way gas stations are, you're not finding gas stations being sold openly on the market. These cap rates are determined by the model using similar size of buildings. A good kiosk comparison is a convenience store. Retail stores on a street like Marin, similar to where gas stations are. That's what you have to look at for, if you were going to compare it to an actual cap rate. Our model is deriving a 6.5% cap rate on it in 19, and I don't actually have a direct sales, for that cap rate. But we have no mailer to go over as it's brand new built, so we don't actually know what they're paying for the pad site yet. But that is my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay. Do you have questions?
Yes, if I can, just quickly on your page 7 again.
Comparable, sure.
Is it page 7, the pumps?
Yes.
Page 7, yes. Okay, let's just go through it quickly. Comp number 3, please explain to the board what happened there. You used 14 Island Shore.
Yes.
That was a lease that was due to expire in 2016, and the building was demolished in 2015. Why is it in the comps?
It was, again, for historical reference of what they did pay, but I'll fully admit it was historical rent has been demolished. You can not
We
pay
should
attention
strike
to
that one?
You could strike it, sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and let's go way down to the far end, the bottom.
Okay.
1361 McPhillips. Does that have a convenience store component?
No, it's just a car wash standalone.
And is it a drive-through or a wine wash?
Wand wash.
Wine wash. And it's rather old. It's on Northgate parking lot, correct?
I agree, and I'm agreeing with your rent for car washes.
Okay. But that one, again, isn't, what we're doing is we're trying to put a value on a car wash
Yep,
and a service station.
absolutely.
Correct?
Yep.
And this is car wash component only.
Like,
So
yes,
so it's
2 car washes.
probably not appropriate. And having said that, of these total, and there's 14 comps, of them, 5 of them had car washes, correct? The
5 of
on
them?
the right-hand side.
Yes, I see 3 with car washes.
Yeah, okay. And then, I guess we'll cut to the quick. Let's go to the roll, or the line that says SKP area, and that's right in the middle of the page.
Yes.
And these are you keep saying kiosk, and that's my point. These are kiosks, not convenience stores. But these are what you're using for your convenience store model, is that correct?
For the gas stations, yes.
Yes. But they're kiosks, is that correct?
Yes, the smaller, yeah, sure, you can call them kiosks. The ones that are bigger have a little more convenience to them. Instead of having to stack your chips and pop outside, they're in the store, you know.
So is your brief model driven?
Is our rent, sorry, can you say that again?
The rent. Is the rent model driven?
For these properties?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So it assumes that kiosks are creating the value for service stations, is that correct? Because you're using these kiosk rates, which by your own admission, you said that they're quite a bit higher because of small square footage.
Yes, absolutely. Economies of scale, the smaller ones are going to be much larger.
So for example, just a conversation, and I'll do a summation. Column number 4 is a Domo gas bar, and it has 112 square feet.
Absolutely.
Now, we all know that those are warming huts for the people. Those aren't retail stores. You're not intended to
No,
be-
I'm not trying to say I'm trying to say the bigger ones have more convenience than the smaller ones.
And interestingly enough, staying with that column, you've got 12 comps, 9 of them are under 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, most of the gas stations, yeah, absolutely.
So your rent is model driven,
Yes.
and this is a rent to be determined for a convenience store. And you just mentioned that if you really wanted to do a market rent for the convenience store aspect of it, you would pick something, I think you said Nairn or somewhere. So like a freestanding Max or a freestanding 7-Eleven, something of that nature?
Absolutely.
Do you believe that any of those pay $35 a square foot?
No, I don't believe any of them serve gas either. Like, I think they're different, but I'm just saying for a
Well,
convenience store on its
7-Eleven
own.
does serve gas, you must know that.
Some of them do, yeah.
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 And just, you indicated you hadn't seen the lease, you're not familiar with the lease?
No, I'm not. I
Outside
don't know.
lease?
I don't know. Nothing's been sent in yet.
Okay. It was slightly, post-reference of July, possession of July of 2018.
Okay.
So we have it, it's available, but it technically it's post-reference.
Yes.
But we're not trying to hide it. And then, have you inspected any of these comps?
Have I inspected them? I mean, I've been to them. Some of them I haven't inspected them for work. No.
You've been there to get gas? As
I've got gas, yes.
Okay. And who picked the comps? Did you pick them?
These ones were put together by another assessor.
Okay. Did the other assessor know that the end result was to try to determine what fair market value of a service station convenience store would be?
Absolutely.
Okay. And he thought it appropriate that all these 9 under 12 that are under 1,000 square feet were appropriate to use?
Yes,
To build the model?
I'm in the same agreement as the assessor that it is good to look at all the other gas stations and what they're paying for their land, and at least finding a way to quantitatively look at them and see, hey, is there similarities between these? And it's like, to me, it's a good, it's a good way to look at, what a gas station is paying per square foot.
Okay. And you indicated that all gas stations, this is a bit anecdotal, but you mentioned all gas stations put in their own pumps, canopies, and...
Not all gas stations, I'm just saying when there's a pad lease in place,
Yeah.
they pay for the land, and
Yeah.
then they build the gas station, they take care of it, and then when it's done, there's usually at the end of the lease a deal to either renew or,
Well,
they scrape it or they
typically,
don't.
if you've seen any leases on gas stations and gas bars, typically, everything has to be removed and the land to
Absolutely,
be...
yeah. For sure.
And some operations, we have a local one here, he's got a very small square footage here, Domo, have on occasion paid a higher rent so they can walk away at the end without having to repay. You familiar with that?
For sure, that could be a clause in the lease.
So what you've got in gas stations, service stations, is a number of different ways that they're valued and treated, both how they're treated by the developer. Does the developer, number one, do developers want them? Ordinarily no, because they create contamination issues and traffic. But oftentimes, most cases are required to remove everything at the end of the lease. And the lease and the rents are typically determined by traffic counts and by whether they shadow anchor a shopping center or anything of that nature. So this is and my concern is the inputs to arrive at the model, if this is a model, because when I brought evidence, if I can see it, at the highest freestanding max I could find is 2065 Pembina, and it doesn't have gas bars, and it's just renewed to a lease of $22, or at the reference date, $22. So I have trouble with how we go from $25 for a typical, highest end I can imagine, for a freestanding convenience store, because it's on that same property.
Okay, but we're getting away from cross-examination
Just
here.
waiting for a question.
Okay, I think I'm fine. That's good.
Okay, you done with the cross then?
Yeah.
Okay, Tracy, any questions of the assessor? I guess we're dealing with 19 first.
Yes, no, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Ron, any questions?
Mr. Spacek, this is all model-driven?
Yes.
Okay. And even how did you conclude value for all the pumps and the canopies, and how was that arrived at?
Okay, so when a gas station is added, it is put on, so you'll see on my page, just so we're on the same page here, if you turn to my 19 page 8,
Okay.
you can see what's actually added. So this is based on the cost manual, the most recent when it's put into our system, but you can see the different detached structures that are added, right? So the first one, tank, underground fiber double wall tank, right? It's 16,600 gallons. It shows the unit cost, right? What's the replacement cost? How much depreciation? And then so that's how, and then it actually takes the replacement cost less depreciation. That's the third last column. Right? So that's how those are added, and then it shows if they're added from income. So it's really just taking the cost of it, according to Marshall and Swift, and then less depreciation, but it's brand new, so there's no / very little depreciation, right? So that's how that added. I highlighted, I think, if not, but it says total RCNLD added to income. That's how that's put in.
So these are fairly new then? So
Yeah, built 2000.
I see percentage of depreciation is 0.
Yeah,
Okay.
Built
So
2019.
so how old are these units then?
Well, they're brand new, built
Brand new?
2019, put in. We're
Okay.
assuming brand new, yes.
Okay. And the cap rate, you have different rates for all the income streams?
Yes. So there are, when it's standalone and the way it's put in, 2 income streams, the car wash is separate. It is its own car wash income stream. There are car washes on their own as the comparables, and those are the like, you know, it's based on, they have their own cap rates for those standalone car washes, so when we put it on here, it's its own cap rate. That's how it's put in, that's how the model
So
drives.
when you concluded value in regards to NOI, okay?
Yeah.
You just looked at the average then?
Blended, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay, so this has got a convenience store component to it as well?
Yeah, if you look on my page 2, you can see at the bottom of page 2, and then on the left side of page 2, you can see it's the standard walk-in, you know, I'll call it a convenience store portion. Right?
Okay, would cap rate for a convenience store differ from cap rate for a,
Kiosk?
just a plain, yeah, I guess?
From my understanding, it's the same across the board, but I can't confirm. It's just, I believe, it's just size, age, location. That would slightly adjust the cap rate. I believe we have, our model is, and I didn't double check this, so I just can't give you a confident answer on that.
Okay. I guess we just don't know how much in income the property is
Yeah,
separate.
we never see those financials either.
Yeah. All right, thank you. So you can proceed, I guess, we're dealing with 2019.
I have a question or two.
Sure.
To ask Mr. Slachek. Slachek, if, I think you had indicated, or it was brought out that this property is under development. It's being developed currently.
Like
right?
the
This
whole Plessis
the whole-
corridor there?
That whole area.
Yeah, from my understanding, things are being built.
So if you take a look at your picture number 2,
Yep.
this is an aerial photo. This actually photo does show that this area is under development. But it has been
Developed,
developed
yes.
since this, but it's still
Yes.
currently under development. There's still a lot of construction going
Yeah,
on
yeah, absolutely.
in this area.
Yeah.
So how would you compare this particular area, for example, to Regent or to some of your other comparables? I mean, there's a lot less traffic here, and gas station and a convenience store depend on a lot of traffic.
Absolutely. I think they chose this location, and I think it's only growing around Plessis, more apartments going up there, you know.
That's in the future.
Well, it's being built now. Like, there's like, again, it's the physical condition as of January 1st, 2020, economic condition April 18. For 19, it's even earlier, but yeah, like it's under development.
So if you compared, for example, this site to the site on McPhillips, I believe you used a comp on McPhillips of 1425 McPhillips. That's located on the mall, the Northgate Mall.
Absolutely.
McPhillips is fully developed. Is that correct? I mean, there are
Yes,
retail
absolutely.
sites there.
Yes, there
So,
is.
in your opinion, would that site have more value versus the Plessis site?
Sure. It's going to have more value when it's blank, nothing was on there, and as the gas station's there, it's only going to get more traffic.
But we're talking about post-reference,
Sure,
we're talking about
sure.
in the future. But currently, if we compare, not only just McPhillips, but I mean, your other comparables located on Regent or in the south part of the city, where for the most part they're fully developed sites and fully developed areas, those particular gas stations would have more value.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree. Yes, there's different traffic counts for sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you can proceed with your presentation on first 2019.
Well, as I mentioned at the onset, that most of my evidence is attached to the 2020 brief, and it's the same for both 19 and 20.
Well, if you need to refer to it, we'll refer to it.
Okay. So, because we believe that this location is not as good as the other locations that have been referred to in Mr. Slachek's rent comparables, we believe that a more appropriate rent per square foot should be $25. We already had agreed that the rent for the car wash is $6. Mr. Spacek has advised the board and us that he is in agreement with that rate. So, as I mentioned, because of the location of this property, which is under development still, I've been there not too long ago, and there's still a lot of construction, and I will admit that the picture that is shown on page 2 of Mr. Spacek's brief is a bit outdated, because there has been some construction, there have been some apartments built, but there isn't as much retail on that strip as in other areas. So as I said, we believe that a market rate of $25 would be a lot more appropriate. The other issues that we have, particularly for 2020, we would like the reinstatement of the non-recoverable expenses.
Okay, well, we'll deal with that when we come to 220 evaluation. But right now,
Okay.
we're just doing 2019.
Okay, and so we're also because of the fact that there's huge potential for this site to be contaminated by the gas tanks, and I mean it's been the case in many other such locations. We're asking for a cap rate of 7.5, and that's not the only reason, of course, that we're asking for that cap rate of 7.5. Not just because of the contamination factor, but because of its location, and furthermore, because of the precedence that has been set by this board for 1425 McPhillips. And 1425 McPhillips, and that's attached in my 2020 brief. There's an order that gave the cap rate of 7% on that particular property, and because, as I said, because of this property's location, mainly because of its location, we're asking that the cap rate be increased to 7.5, and as a result of these amendments, we believe that the fair market value of this particular property is $1,380,000. Now, Mrs. Spacek had agreed already on reducing the rent for the car wash to $6. He had no problem with that. We believe that a more appropriate rent for the convenience store should be $25 on this particular property, using a cap rate of 7.5%. We arrived at a value of $1,380,000. Now, we also do not have any arguments with respect to the pumps, gas pumps, and the underground tanks. We agree with that value for 2019 of $761,000. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Any questions?
Just a couple quick. For that, when you reach the $25 for the kiosk, have you provided, or did you look at any of the comparables to come to that $25, or is it just where's that $25 come from? Is my question.
Yeah. So that was for 1425 McPhillips, based on our workup, or based on Mr. Starry's workup when he made a presentation for 1425 McPhillips. Rate of $25 was considered, and if you take a look again, if you look at the 220 or 2020 presentation and you look at the board order, it does indicate that the reduction is based on the NOI presented by Fairtax and have increased the cap rate to 7%. But that's 1425 McPhillips, where I stated that there's I mean, there's no comparison to this subject property because of the traffic count, because of the fully developed street with all the retail, with the big shopping centers near, in the vicinity, and those shopping centers that retail generate a lot of traffic on that particular street versus Plessis.
Fair. So 1425 McPhillips, do you know offhand what year that property was built? Is your main comparable?
That was rebuilt. It was built. I'm not sure exactly.
It was 4 years ago.
It was rebuilt 4 years
So
ago.
renovated 4 years ago.
Yes, totally renovated. It looks like a new stage.
Okay. So you're basing on the one gas station, 1425 McPhillips. Thank you. And just another question regarding your net op or your cap rate using 7.5 for 19, 7.5 for 20. So the 2018 hearing was at 7%. That's the same as 2019. It's a more recent, so it's an older gas station, but would you not use the same cap rate as the decision if you're relying on it?
But again, we're indicating to the panel and to yourself that there's no comparison between this particular location on Plessis and the location on McPhillips. And if you look and if one also considers some of the locations that you had indicated in your brief, there's no comparison. I mean, we're looking at streets that are fully developed where there's a lot of retail versus this particular street. So there's these sites require a lot of traffic in order to be economically viable.
All right, thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, Tracy, any questions?
Is there anywhere in here this comp of 1425 McPhillips?
It's attached to, as I mentioned, it's attached to the 2020 brief.
Okay.
If the 2020 brief on page 10 is the Board of Revision order.
No, I comp information about it.
Oh, the comp information. No, as I mentioned, it is based on the NOI developed by Fairtax, and the NOI was based on $25 a square foot.
And that is, oh, I see, okay. I think that's it, Mr. Chair, thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Merritt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Stetkowski, you brought along that board order that was dated November the 29th, 2017. And at the time, I guess the cap rate for the subject was 7%.
Not subject. This is 1425 McPhillips, Mr. Merritt.
Right. Okay. You're using for the subject, which is on Plessis, okay. You are using the 7.5%. So have cap rates gone up then?
Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, the main reason why we're using a higher cap rate for the subject property is because of its inferior location compared to McPhillips. The board had ruled in its wisdom that that particular property on McPhillips should have a cap rate of 7%. We feel because of the inferior location of the subject property, the fact that there's a lot less traffic. You know, if you take a look, compare McPhillips. McPhillips is a thoroughfare it goes from Notre Dame all the way to Gimli, versus Plessis. Plessis, where does it end up? It ends up, I think,
Well, we know where it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I mean, anybody going home to Gimli or en route to Gimli, quite often takes McPhillips. I mean, I live in East St. Paul. I take McPhillips quite often to get to East St. Paul.
If I can just add one thing for clarification. Cap rate with gas stations is really based on the potential to contaminate a limited number of developers who want to touch it. Not only to contaminate your future site with your existing site, with leaching, you might contaminate neighboring sites. So there's an inherent risk. However, getting back to the two comparables, Northgate was redeveloped about 3 years ago to the extent of $40 million between what Savon did and what they did in terms of redeveloping and demoling it. This particular Petrocan followed suit. They rebuilt to be consistent with the rest of the new construction. So it's a superior location than Plessis, and hopefully down the road places will be like Pembina and Region and all these other, but they aren't right now. So I just wanted to bring that up about the inferiors, partly because of the work that's been done in the, and interestingly enough, the car wash that the assessor used is on the site. It's on the Northgate site, 1361. There's also a Domo gas bar on the same site. There's also a Petrocan on the same site. So there's three auto-related places on Northgate Shopping Center. The only one we had an order on was 1425, and the assessor didn't have any of his comps. That's why I was asking who picked his comps and why would somebody not have picked the Petrocan. It's got a convenience store, a legitimate convenience store. It sells lottery tickets, coffee, ATM machines, etc., but rather than come to the board with a whole list of kiosks and just warming shacks, really, for temple. Think of some of these small ones. Anyway, that's all. I'm sorry I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. While you're both there, any cap study at all in regards to types of buildings like this?
For sale, there's no sales.
Okay.
They don't happen. And they don't happen because developers don't want to build them. If they have their druthers, they build them. And what happens is, you'll see that a gas station, when it ceases to be a gas station, is generally decommissioned for about 5 years. They put in the venting and whatnot, and then they redeem it, and then they sell it for something else. We just did 1375 Grants. It used to be a Shell food store, and now it's Carpathia Credit Union, but there's no other. So there isn't a lot of market. If the development community is reluctant to get involved with contamination issues, and it's a risk that someone just like, if you're dealing with other people's money, if it's investment quality purchases, you got to worry about that. We just, if you've been reading the papers, the remediation costs of parcel 4 at the fort would be $3 million. That's just to redeem it without the archaeological. So contamination is a huge issue, and really what dictates cap rate.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I thank you on that. So let's deal with 2020 then, and can you lead us through and point out what's different? Aside from the 5%. We know that's different.
I think the only difference, I guess, is the gas pumps. That's it for all.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. For the exact same roll number, 040072615550, 1440 Plessis Road, we have a assessed value for 2020 of $1,996,000. Again, I won't go over all the details as this is fresh in our mind. If we turn to page 5, our rent on this one has went up 48 cents. All parameters the same. Obviously, the expenses are different as we've went through numerous times. 2020 we moved to 5% management. We are at 2% for 2020. Shortfall at $6. Overall cap rate went down to 6.15. And the additional value, the building value did go up. And as I explained before, it's not a contentious issue, but that went up because the pumps, the characteristics and all the pumps were changed from the 18 cycle to the 20. We updated them to the newer pumps, and that actually increased the cost of them because they are newer. They have the proper actual coating on them, the proper amount of, the big one was on the pumps, right? We went from having the 2 or 3 gas buttons to having the actual 4 on each side. So again, that update did cause the increase, and that will be going forward for all gas stations. You'll see that in 2020 if you have any other gas appeals this cycle. The car wash were at $670, which again I agreed with the $6 rent from the appellant for the car wash.
Did you work out a valuation for that?
I didn't. I just did it before I got here, but I can write it. I'll do it if we take a little break after it. change that $6.70 to $6. The actual rent values are on all the appellants, but the actual potential rent of $6 at 1,044 square feet. And again, I'm using the same comparables. And again, follow through my last presentation to save time. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
I don't have any additional questions or comments. I mean, what comments we had and questions we had were already asked and mentioned.
Okay. Any questions on 2019?
The same.
Or 2020, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I was just wondering if I could possibly make a clarification. I think, maybe correct me, I think I asked for 2019, I think I asked for a value, market value of $1,380,000, but that should be $1,309,000.
No, we have 309 for 19.
Oh, but I think I may have mentioned that
Oh,
earlier. But,
Yeah, okay, we got 1,309,000.
yeah.
And what should it be?
Well, for 2019, we're asking for $1,309,000.
Yeah.
And 1,380,000 for 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was your presentation?
Well, there's still one other little thing that for 2020. Sorry, are you asking?
Yeah, for your presentation.
Okay. So the major difference between our 2019 and 2020 presentation is the issue with non-recoverable expenses. You have noticed that non-recoverable expenses were used by the assessor in 2019. We would like those expenses reinstalled for 2020. Now, I have many decisions made by this board this cycle.
Those decisions, I mean, there's lots of decisions with 5% reinstated, there's lots of decisions with 5%.
But if you like, I have a stack full of decisions here.
Past decisions of this board have been all over the place, so I don't think we get much
So,
time.
if you don't want these decisions, all I want to say is the fact that 5% in many properties that we have represented, the 5% has been reinstalled in terms of the non-recoverable expenses. So for the 220 cycle, we're using the same rates, rental rate, $25 and $6. $25 for the kiosk, $6 for the car wash. Same cap rate of 7.5%. We agree to the value represented by the gas pumps and storage tanks. But we also want the board to consider a 7.5% cap rate. And again, the arguments are the same as we had in 2019, mainly because of the location, the difference between McPhillips and many other comparables that we have seen here that were located on streets where the traffic is much greater than the subject property. Do you have anything to add? Thank you so much.
Okay, questions?
I have no questions.
Tracy,
No
questions?
questions.
John?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. That concludes 1440 Plessy.
Mr. Chair, may I just take 2 minutes to use Washington between these?
Sure, absolutely. All right. Next property is 918 Elizabeth Road, so can you swear in the applicant?
Do you swear in, or, sorry, could you please state your name?
Joe Monet.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Okay, now, there is also a preliminary issue on this, and the assessor has requested non-cooperation. Do you know the meaning of?
Yeah, you came to our shop a couple of weeks ago to explain the whole thing.
Okay. So can you lead us through the non-co-op?
Yes, very similar to before. I'll start with the roll number 0602-1200500, 918 Elizabeth Road, just west of La Jamodier in Windsor Park. just for the non-compliance. Again, we've always sent out a letter every May. We've never received one back, and again, this is the first year this property's been appealed. I saw a history of no mailers, and also I just included, and I also included on page 9, the same as before. We have a mailer sent, so if you turn to page 9, we have the tracking of the 2017 mailer sent in 2018. Again, we're looking at June 7th. It was signed by D. Haddon. And you can see that tracking number at the top, 8091CA, matches the one at the bottom. The envelope sent to Joe's Machine Shop Co. Limited, 918 Elizabeth Road. So again, when we don't receive a mailer like that, non-compliance is requested.
Okay, are you contesting non-compliance?
No, just, I guess, more guilty with an explanation, so to speak. Okay, so basically there's 3 partners to the business. There's the page, I've actually brought a copy of our annual return, which has 3 partners, myself, my partner, and his father, emails up.
Okay.
And I didn't make copies, I didn't even really think about it, I was kind of rushed out the door. I was talking with Jonathan earlier, and he said the hearing was today, so I kind of rushed and figured I'd get a place to park and get here. But basically he was kind of in charge of all that kind of stuff. And it was signed by one of my employees in June, the registered letter. And normally that would just go on email's desk, and he would come in twice a month. He's 96 years old now, actually. But I kind of took over most of his duties this summer because he's getting a little bit absent-minded and still healthy as a horse, but mine is starting to go a little bit. And that's why I appealed it. I looked into the taxes, and I said, oh, it looks like they doubled in the last couple of years, or however far back. And then Jonathan came into the shop and mentioned it's non-compliance, and I looked into it. I don't think one's ever been done. I don't know if he had
Never filled out.
No, it's never ever done. And then he told me what it looked like and what to look out for. So I'm not contesting the fact that it wasn't done, but I guess I have a bit of a problem paying quite an inflated amount for taxes for the last 20 years, probably, from what I'm looking at, and then be penalized again for another year. Because I mean, he hasn't brought his case forward, but the property was way overvalued for what it actually is. And I guess you can just continue on. And
Can we take a look at that?
Oh, I was just going to run out and see if you can make me a few copies. I think that was next up.
Do you want to take a look at that, Jonathan?
I believe I'm fine.
Who sent you this form?
That's the corporation's office.
The corporation office?
Yeah.
And did they send it each and every year? I guess it's dated here. Oh.
Yeah, I got paid $50 a year for that piece of paper.
For that piece of paper. And this is just a questionnaire that is...
That's my copy, actually.
Okay,
It's a
well, that's your copy.
If anything
Okay.
changes, then
Okay.
I'm supposed to make the amendment. And I think next year we have to, because we have to get an executor for him, because,
Okay.
like I
So
said,
whose writing's on the back?
that's mine.
That's your
I just
writing?
wrote it down in my notes.
Well, that
Like I said, I came really prepared.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So I just have a few questions. So when this questionnaire comes to your office, okay, and somebody did sign for it, okay, is this
It's one of my employees, yeah.
one of your employees? Okay, so what happened to the document?
Well, when email comes in, we normally put things on his desk, and when they disappear, we figure they were dealt with. So it's like that was his thing that he did.
So
And apparently it hasn't been. And like I said, until I appealed it this year, I had no idea that had
Okay.
been done. It wasn't.
So it wasn't a problem, you know, prior to, it was probably never filled out.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I wouldn't say it wasn't a problem. I think it was when I realized, because I know our taxes were about half that
Okay.
last time I checked.
so
Last time I looked into it
when
myself.
did you guys buy them out or whatever happened?
I've been there 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
basically,
prior to that, is that,
I don't know.
okay.
I can't speak from before, but after Jonathan left, I kind of looked, and normally he would put things on a clipboard, and I couldn't find anything. I mean, I found this, you know. I mean, I've been the one that's been doing this, so I knew. About
So
this.
the only reason why it's surfaced is because you appealed, okay?
All right.
And so, I think Jonathan probably explained to you what happens at that point,
Yeah.
or, okay. All right, so, all right, that's all the questions I have, Mr. Chairman.
Tracy, do you have any?
Questions, thank you.
Okay, I guess we better caucus on the non-co-op then. Okay, we consider that, and under the circumstances, the essence of previous court decisions is that as soon as the city shows that either the mailer was received and not returned, then we basically have no discretion in the matter. So we're going to grant the non-co-op. I wish we could prescribe the penalty ourselves, but unfortunately, again, the legislation doesn't give us grant us any leeway on the penalty, and in this circumstances, it seems to be a severe one, but nonetheless, there it is.
So even if that's like a $10,000 hit for the last 10 years, we were overpaying our taxes. I mean,
Yeah,
you guys can't be
unfortunately.
that greedy, really.
So, in the future,
Well, like I said, him and I have had a good discussion on that. I mean,
yeah,
but I mean, it's like we could put that money against insulation on our building and stuff like that.
Yeah.
you know, it's-
yeah, that's the unfortunate part about it.
Like, once you hear his case, then you'll realize that the building's a tear down.
Yeah.
You can't even afford to
Yeah.
put a roof on it
Yeah.
because the taxes and
Yeah.
the utilities are so
Yeah.
high. It's a cinder block building.
Yeah, it's a
We
pretty
feel for
stiff,
you.
I
stiff
wish
penalty.
the legislature would re-rate the act to give us some discretion on the penalty, but unfortunately it doesn't specify the penalty in the legislation. That is that. Now, normally that would require you to go first, but you've got a recommendation to make,
Yep,
so
yeah, I can
let's deal
present
with
that.
it.
Again, we're at 918 Moses Road. The original 2020 assessment was 810,000. You can see that was based off of, on page 4, the original income workup, right? Vehicle service garage, 4,000 square feet. You can see all the numbers there, but it was at 810. Again, I did go inspect the property, speak with the owner. I did make an adjustment to make a recommendation for 417,000, and I used the income approach for this on the back of page 20, and really it's a drop in rent paid dollars, standard BSD parameters, and then I use a 7.05 capitalization rate. So I upped the cap from 6.05, and again, so this came up to 417,000, which is my recommendation. And then for these small properties like this, I just do a check. I haven't included it, but I do a check against land. It's in Windsor Park. You'll see in the pictures on page 2 if we go further on this. It's a residential area. It's a grandfathered building into a residential area. It has residential zoning. So I do a check against land value, just, what is that, the income value over the lot, and it works out to about $18 a square foot. Again, when I do my checks, it seems fair. Lots, you can buy lots in vacant areas where they're more available in like Sage Creek for that $18 to $25. I figure, an old gas station, maybe there's contamination issues. I don't know. I can't speak to it, but that $18 a square foot seems fair to me, and that was my first judgment on it, and that's my recommendation.
Okay, how do you feel about the value of 417,000?
Well, it's better than 800, but I mean, I do have some concerns about the value of the land, just because it was originally the Woodsbrook was all a cattle farm back in the day. This was the machine shop from the farm.
Okay.
So we attempted to Well, there's that and the fact that we can't sell the property to a service station and everything, it's gotta be a machine shop. We have to sell, our exit plan in there would be to sell it to somebody, and retain the name as a business, right? We can't sell, we can't lease somewhere else, and we actually had somebody come in and wanted to repair shopping carts and wanted to lease the building, right? Couldn't do that, so we wouldn't let us. We're grandfathered to do what we're doing, and that's it. We have people in the area that have, that live in apartments that want to park on our, we can have an income on some parking, we've got some land there, can't do that. We can't make any money there. We had a dealer plate. We were buying and selling cars to subsidize the business. And then motor vehicles changed the rules and pulled our dealer plate because we're in a residential area. So we'd have to rezone. I went to the city, they said, well, we're not gonna let you rezone. So we lost our income there. We can't even put a sign on the curb, you know? We're so limited to what we can do. And our only way out of there would be to tear the building down and build some houses, which we're never gonna be in a position to do because we can't even insulate our building at this point. Our taxes and heating is just out the window. And there's a reason why the patriarch is still around at 94 years old. There's no way to get out of this. The only way I'm going to get out of it is by not paying my taxes and give it to the city. That's going to be my exit plan. So, I mean, it's kind of frustrating when you think about it.
Yeah.
And we're also kind of under a service shop, but we're not a service shop. We're an engine remanufacturing business, which is a very limited market. You don't need an engine in your car every year like you do a set of brakes, you know. So I don't know if we're being in the right category for one thing. And based on the population of Winnipeg, you know, our market's pretty limited. So we have some good years, we have some bad years. I think we were in a tax sale situation twice in the last 20 years, and there's a reason for that, and that was when our taxes were at that amount back then, you know.
Okay,
I just kind of jotted a few things down while I was waiting, but
what do you think would be an appropriate value for your?
I don't know. We had a real estate a couple years, probably about 10 years ago. We tried to have the place listed to see what our options were, and right away everyone wants an environmental, and that's $25,000–$30,000. You know, if we had that money, we'd put it in a roof and some insulation before we did that, right? So, I mean, what if they do find something? And chances are they will. It's an old, like, back in the 20s and 30s, what did people do with their old oil? Probably just dumped it behind the building, right? You know. So what's the land worth? To me, it's worth nothing, because that's probably in reality. You know, I mean, you'd have to excavate the whole. You'd have to sell it and put a basement under the whole building to excavate the whole property, and who's going to do that? That's why I was asking, you know, for the only reason I'm here is John said, well, come down, maybe state your case for the non-compliance, and at least, you know, we can save a bit of money there. Because, I mean, for the last probably 10–15 years, we were probably paying double what the land was worth to begin with, you know. But,
any questions of the appellant?
I have no questions.
I have a few questions. Where exactly are you on Elizabeth Road? Are you close to Lage?
in between Lage and Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah, you know where, well, there was the school, the Louis Riel School was on the Vermont, is that the Vermont? Yeah.
So are you the only business in that area? And how
Right in
long?
the middle, and that's another thing, is our traffic, we have no traffic, we're right in the middle of Windsor Park. You know, so it's not like somebody's gonna drive by and say, hey, can you do a set of brakes for me? Oh yeah, we got oils, maybe we can do it. And we don't have the exposure for one thing. And like Windsor Park kind of encroached all the way around this kind of thing, right? So.
How much frontage do you have? How much frontage? 100 feet?
I don't even know.
You're on about a half acre though, right? Yeah. You have 23,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So, are you fairly front along?
Yeah, it's more frontal.
Is it
than,
more front than depth?
Yeah.
You can look on page 2 of mine, it has it there.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to have a look. Because,
And you can't even work on our vehicles outside. In the summertime, sometimes, you know, the bay is full and you got to pull a motor for a customer, and the customer's complaining, or the neighbors are complaining because they bought next to a machine shop.
okay, so you're more or less in a residential area.
Well, we're surrounded, yeah.
So you're probably the only business there? Well, I'm just trying
Well,
to...
there's a strip mall closer to Archibald.
Yeah.
There's the IGA strip mall, but that's quite a ways down.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that, you know, with the recommendation, et cetera, you know, there seems to be, you know, maybe it'd be worthwhile to phone the assessment department, okay? And have them come down and give you an opinion of value. It could be just land only, you know?
Well, I think that's kind of what Jonathan did.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm really happy with him
No,
reducing our taxes for
but I'm thinking,
50%.
you know,
But
maybe,
is it enough? I don't know.
you know, maybe it's worth 300,000, you know? So,
You know, it's a gravel lot, you know, we
Guys,
can't even pave the lot
I
because
see
the
that.
water table
I
is
see.
so high
Yeah.
that, you know, in the spring, you walk on the gravel and bubbles come up through the gravel. So, I mean, you can't even build really on there. It's on a slab, the building's on a slab. I don't even think you could put anything with a basement on it, it'll just get washed away. I don't know, you know, it's just like, it's hard to make a buck in this business to begin with, and it seems like we're paying it all the taxes and heating, you know.
I have no other questions, Mr. Chairman.
Tracy, any questions?
I have no questions.
Actually, I got one that for Mr. Spacek here. When you upped the cap rate to 7.05, did you consider the limited uses that could be done for that?
Yeah, so I mean, again, so using the income approach, if I had the cap or went lower rent, I was looking at that total value in this case, right? Market value, what would it sell for? 417. Again, it wasn't unreasonable for me. I put it up against residential sales because this is zoned single residential. I figured if somebody was to buy this, it would be split and maybe a couple houses built. Like, so I did use that sale. So I'm really right. If I had to do this, that 7.05. I mean, if you're doing purely income, do you need to up that? I can't tell you. I did take into account the issues this building have, but I walked through, I took pictures, I see what it is. I'm mostly just trying to get a market value that I think it would sell for. And again, there is issues with the land. I assume there might be, but I have no paperwork showing there is, and that's expensive to get. And I know all
Okay,
this.
so it's not on the contaminated sites list?
Not that I mean, I didn't look. It's on the contaminated sites list. I did not. It's again that $18 a square foot for land was my check, as I tried to explain, and I think that's a good spot to look at for this one. Is
So at $18 a square foot, what does that come to?
That's 411. That's
That's
417. That's what my
So
income
that's the
approach
way
works
you've
out.
gone? That's,
I'm just saying I did the income approach. It worked for 417. I did a double check just to see, hey, this is a unique property. It's zoned residential. Probably want to compare it to residential land sales. This works out to $18 a square foot, 417. And that $18 a square foot, when I look at land sales of single-family houses, is not far off from my mind of what a decent difference. But then again,
but you had talked about maybe 2 residential, sites.
Maybe
That's
that's
still a
possible.
little high.
Maybe that's zoning and
Still a
want to
little
put
high.
a little complex up there, right?
Still a little high.
What do you mean? $18? $18 a square foot, is that too high?
200,000 a lot.
Yeah.
That's a little high.
You know what? When you're
For an
looking at
older
it,
neighborhood?
if it is to be split, again, I'm not in residential, but I did try to compare it to sales.
That's what to look at.
Well, I also have a question, Jonathan, did you factor the fact that we'd have to put money into an environmental before we can even sell it as a residential?
Absolutely. I
And
tried
is
to
it
take
gonna
into
pass?
account the issues. I'm trying to present all the evidence I was given as well to the panel. Like when I looked at the frontage of this, like it's over. When I did 25 feet per lot, you could fit up to 7 lots in here. That's probably tight for the area,
Okay.
right? So I'm saying 2, maybe you can put 3, maybe you can put 4, I don't know. I'm just quickly using it as a check against this building, because I don't want to just come in here and try to say, hey, this is $8 square foot, right? I'm trying to be realistic with what
I
it is.
think the fact that it came down to half.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when it's never been appealed and
Yeah.
it floats along, some of this does happen, right? It's just
Yeah.
how do we get it fixed going forward? And I inspected, the parameters are changed going forward. There should be more reasonable taxes, more reasonable assessed values in future assessments.
Based on that, you guys won't reconsider the penalty? Considering we're dealing with...
We don't have much
We would
choice.
love to give you
94-year-old
Christmas, but we
man.
don't have any choice in that
It's not
matter,
gonna make your day,
unfortunately.
believe me.
Christmas is in a few days.
Yeah.
Okay. I have
You
nothing
guys are the
else.
ones wearing the
I know.
suits.
Okay, thank you for that. Then that concludes this property. And so we have one final property on today's agenda, which
So I have
is,
one question. So, does that mean it can even go down a little bit less, or
Well,
just gonna go with his
we,
recommendation? Or
We're going to deliberate it.
we'll deliberate and, yeah. It certainly won't
Maybe
be,
every little bit helps.
it certainly won't be any more than 407 based on the recommendation. 417, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So our last property is 2004 Logan.
All right, see what I get.
Would you like to swear in? Could you please state your name?
Christian Buffalo.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
First of all, I notice there's not a brief here. Do you have any material you?
I just have a statement, nothing.
Presume you don't have any objection to it being presented now?
Just
Oh, no, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can you take us through this property then?
Yes, of course. We're looking at roll number 0709105100. This is 2004 Logan Avenue. This is just east of King Edward. I've included pictures on page 2 so you can get an idea of where the property is. Sorry, the 2020 assessment is $254,000. This is a vehicle service garage located, at 2004 Logan. We have it built in 1968, but this property every year defaults to land. So this property is on land value. You can see on page 2 the small size of the building where it's located compared to the rest of the lot. This actually has I don't have the land to building ratio, but it is large on this one, as you can see, mostly used for car parking for the actual auto body itself. But again, so going forward, we're looking at the land value of this property. This property was originally bought in the year 2000 for $110,000. That's on my page 4. And page 5 is the actual land valuation of this property. So our model gives this 23,632 square foot lot a model rate of $10.75 a square foot. That's how you get that total value of $254,000 at the top of the page. You can ignore the rest of that page. So page 6, again, I put together some comparables of land for this one, just to show what, so this is zone manufacturing 1 or manufacturing light. There's a sale on 2020 Logan, which is just I've included pictures on the next page, but it's just a couple buildings down from it. It was actually purchased by the owner of the lot right beside it, and it looks like it's used as parking currently. But this was purchased in October of 2014 for $225,000. The land size is 11,000 square feet, and it was purchased for $19.50 a square foot. Again, it was purchased by the owner from the building next door, so there is probably some motivation involved in that sale, but it came in for M1 zoning on Logan at $19.50. It's on page 6. Again, I've put together some more some M2 sales, as I could not find any more M1, but M2 just allows for a little bit more of, the M1 zoning is like a storage warehouse or an operation that's done indoors with some storage outside, and then M2 allows a little bit work from the definition, a little bit of work to be done outside, so it gives you a little bit more options, I'm assuming. But the 3 sales I've included are comp 2 to 4. They are M2 zoning. You can see at 295 Archibald, it was a corner lot, 8,000 square feet, vacant land, vacant industrial land, 140,000, sold September 13 for 1605 a square foot. I've included pictures of that as well in the next pages. And that is just south of Provencher. They ended up building a storage warehouse on the site. Comparable number 3 is 1009 Dugald Road. This was sold 2014, a 20,000 square foot lot, very similar to the subject. M2 zoning for 1174, and that was in 14. And it was had an old house on it. They tore down the old house and actually built a storage warehouse on there as well. Comparable 4 is 1530 St. James. So this is in the industrial area of St. James, just south of Dublin. It was sold May 17, so a much more recent sale. It was 31,000 square feet, so a larger size than our subject property, and it's sold for $13.53. The building was torn down on there, and they built a storage warehouse style car wash on St. James there. So those are the 4 comparables I'm using. You can see on page 7 the pictures of where they're located, and page 8 if you want to see the sites in question. And since this is a land one, it's pretty straightforward. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any questions of the assessor?
Not really. I can't speak to the other properties because I don't have a source or any experience going to other properties. I can just speak about my own property.
We'll get to your presentation in a moment. Tracy, do you have any questions of the
I
assessor?
don't have any questions, thank you.
Okay, Ron, question.
I have just one. Where exactly is this along Logan?
Where is this? Just off of King Edward. You know where Logan hits King Edward?
Okay.
So just east of there, you can see it. So if you look
So
on
it's
page,
quite far past the Kuwaitan and...
it's
yeah,
in
closer to King
between
Edward?
Kuwait and King Edward, right? Is that
Okay.
Kuwait before King Edward, I believe, on that
Yep.
way? Yeah.
It's between King River and
Yeah.
And I see that there is it is almost like a service garage, eh?
Yes, people service garage.
And did you get a chance to visit the
I've
property?
never been to this location, no.
So just based on the picture, it looks like probably 3 service bays, eh?
That's what it looks like.
Okay. But you've valued the subject property for land only?
Yeah, our model, so continually with this property, with this subject size being so small compared to the rest of the lot, it's always done on land. It's always, our model always is giving it a land value, which I double checked that land value, looked at comparables, and I figured the $10 a square foot is very fair market value for this lot.
And again, I think you're over the half acre, but you have quite a bit of frontage along
About
there.
23,000 is a narrow, long lot, as you can see
Okay.
on page 2.
I was just going to ask that. Do you happen to know the frontage along there?
You know what, I don't have it with me, I
Okay.
apologize.
Okay. And you haven't had a chance to visit the subject
No, I
property,
haven't.
so you don't know what the other buildings around, or if there's any other service, car lots along there, or?
Yeah, none with net rents, like I know there's not very many vehicle services garages with net rents as it is.
Okay, so I'm just looking at page 2.
Yeah.
And the subject property, I see there's all kinds of cars in there.
Yes,
Okay, and that is the subject, eh?
yes. It's, I guess, whatever motors and used auto sales, so a lot of cars.
Okay. I have no other questions, Mr. Chairman.
Can I jump in and ask a question? Thank you. What was behind the decision to go to land value only?
It's, realistically, it's when the value of the building and the income approach doesn't match the actual market value of the land. So if this were to be sold in the model's eyes, which ends up being, the land's worth more, like this building's coming in, I don't have the income approach with me, but say it's coming in at 180,000 or 100,000, like I don't know what it's coming in at, but it's not it's not representing that value that it would be bought. Because in our eyes, if this was to be sold, it's going to be sold for that land value.
I think that's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
You look like you had another question.
No, I'm just, making notes.
Terms, did I hear you say that this at one point in time was a service station?
No. Sorry, I don't know why I'm saying we do service station. I mean car service. Like I just see it as an auto body. I don't know the history. If it had a, I don't know if it used to have a gas bar or anything. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I just thought I heard.
So, could I interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
Is there a sale on the property?
This one, the owner originally bought it, from my understanding, in 2000
Yeah, 2000.
for 100,000. 110,000. 110 on my page 4 is the sales.
Okay. What about, it says comp 1,
Yes.
and it's got the address of, oh, I'm sorry.
It's 2020. It's just two
Okay.
houses down.
Okay.
Three lots down.
Okay. And that sold at 1950.
Yes. You can see it on my page 7, the top comparable. You can actually see the gas station on the right side of that picture.
Okay.
That's how close it is.
Might have been motivated by it.
Yeah, the owner owns that the building next door.
Okay.
And
Okay.
uses it for parking, it looks like.
Okay, I have no further questions.
You sure this time?
Yeah. Well, I looked very quickly, as the day goes, I looked very quickly, it looked like the subject property, okay, and comp 1. Okay, so,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I had another very wise question. The typical land value would have to look at the value of the cost of demolishing the existing building on site. Do you have that?
Cost to demolish? No.
Okay. Because I mean, if you're looking at land value, then you got to look at how much it would cost to.
Yeah, like it would be negotiated into the sale price, I'm sure, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know how much it costs to demolish that building.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you. So you can proceed with your presentation now.
Yes, as you mentioned, we bought this building in year 2000 for $110,000, which included about $20,000 of compressor, some pulling equipment, and a paint booth. But the actual value of the land and building was $90,000.
Okay.
As years passed by, the building deteriorated to the point that it may need to be demolished in the very near future. As in 2016, the Board of Revision reduced this valuation to $125,000. If you go from there, like on the Winnipeg assessment.com, they have annual market value of increase from 1 to 5%, then 2 to 7%. So if you take an average of 4 to 5% increase every year from 125 to the building should worth no more than $150,000. So I'm just seeking the decreased in the assessed value of the property to $150,000. And this property had actually in previous years a gas station in there in 1950s.
Okay. Do you know if there's been any assessment for contamination? Because it really all that.
That information was disclosed by a real estate agent at the Board of Revision after I bought the property in 2000 when it went to court. Because at that point the property was assessed at 169 in the year 2000, but we bought the property for 110,000, including compressor and some pulling equipment. So that at that time he disclosed that information to the board that it had previously gas station in that property in 1950s, 60s, somewhere there.
Okay.
But I don't have any first-hand information on.
All right. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Tracy, any questions of the appellant?
I think you covered it. I was going to ask about remediation from the gas station. So you bought it, you were unaware that it was a gas
Yes.
station before?
Yes.
But it was many years ago, 50
Yes,
years ago.
yes,
So,
yes.
I think that's all my questions at this time.
Okay, any questions?
You own this property?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what happens on that property?
We buy and sell cars,
Okay.
mostly, and
Okay.
we repair some cars, our own cars mostly.
Okay, so there's 3 bays on the site?
There's 3 bay, but only 2 is usable. One is.
Okay.
not-
Are there hoists inside the site?
Yes, there is.
Okay, two
One
hoists?
west.
Just one?
Just one west.
Okay.
One side of the building, there's no heat, no water.
Okay. And when did you buy this property?
Year 2000, sir. Year 2000?
2000?
Yes, sir.
And what did you pay at the time?
Total value I paid is $110,000.
110?
Which included a compressor and some equipment.
Okay. And you say there's no water, did you say?
There's no water since the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay. And heat-wise, how's the building heated?
The one side of the building is not heated. There's
Okay.
no furnace right now, but the other side is a overhead furnace.
Overhead
Gas-
furnace?
Gas furnace.
I think that's it, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay, you said the building's in poor shape. Can you describe the conditions a bit more?
Like one side is a brick building, masonry building. The other side was wooden building, which like deteriorated over the times.
Okay.
So it, like it's leaking.
Mr. Chair, can I just jump in and
Sure.
ask a question? You said that there was no water for the last 4 or 5 years. What's the story with that? Like, what's
It's
happened?
just because there's one side that where the washroom was, there's no heat right now. So I couldn't afford to put to renovate it yet.
Okay.
We have to, I don't know, I can't, like I don't have enough income to repair or replace it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. No more questions, so thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
That concludes today's hearing, so we will deliberate and get back. And again, I think that it might not be as quick as normal. If it's back, who knows? Might be quicker than normal.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. You guys have a good afternoon.